Hi, everybody. Welcome to another study session for Kubernetes. And today we're going to be covering the service networking and ingress. With the service networking, these are services that are used to connect pods to each other and the internet. And there's two different versions of this. It can be used it can be set up via cluster IP, which is going to be like your internal IP. Um, only the pods will be able to talk to each other, or you can have it set up via node port where you expose a port on the node and all of the pods are then connecting to the service to then be able to talk to the outside world. And the way this is configured on the nodes themselves is via kube proxy. The kube proxy, if you guys remember, it's the pod that's deployed via a daemon set on all of the nodes. And anytime you make a change regarding these node port cluster IPs or any services, the kube proxy then makes the change on that node. It makes the necessary configuration as far as like IP tables and IP addresses to make sure that the communication can happen from the inside nodes. Like there's some network address translation that happens, but we're not gonna dive that deep into it, how it works. We're just gonna be looking at the services themselves. Um, One thing I want to mention here is there's a different stores for the IP allocations for the nodes, pods, and services, and we're gonna see that in this practice test as well. The service IPs are usually set on the API server. Pod IPs are set via the CNI, which is going to be our container network interface pod. And we just got to look for the allocated IP for those. And the nodes IP are set on the VM, the Linux machine themselves. And we can look at the IP address or the interfaces on that VM to see what are the IP addresses that are allocated for that. So let's go ahead and jump into it and I'll show you exactly what I mean. If you guys have any questions, let me know. All right. So what network range are the nodes in the cluster are part of? And I'm just gonna mention this because I haven't mentioned it in a while. We're just gonna be going to the Code Cloud Academy courses and looking at the different sections of Kubernetes. And it's a good way for you to get accustomed and with a Kubernetes infrastructure and really get used to putting in the different commands. So that's why I use it. It's a really good demo. Let's go ahead and do the first question. What network range are the nodes in the cluster part of? So here we're looking for the allocation for the node ports, the nodes IP. Um, the the best way to find this is gonna be via the IP address command, because this we're just gonna be looking at the VM itself to see what is the IP addresses that are assigned to that interface. So go ahead and do an IPA, and we're gonna be looking at Ethernet 0. And also, here's another way you can make sure that you know what Ethernet port, what interface that you're looking at is we want to do get nodes dash o wide. And here we can see the different IP addresses, and you can just match that just to make sure that you're looking at the right interface. And as you can see here, it is a /24, and /24, the last octet doesn't matter, so it's going to be 192.1.15.0/24 for our for our network range. That's this guy here. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Hey, PJ.
Hey guys, how you doing?
And what is the range of IP addresses configured for pods on this cluster? So for pods, we're going to be looking at our CNI for that. So let's go ahead and find out what CNI is being used. The easiest way is you just do a get pods dash A. And we can see here we're using weave. So let's go ahead and describe weave. Okay. So weave, what we're looking for is going to be our IP allocation range. And of course, we could have grepped it, and that's going to be the IP addresses that is going to assign to any pods that are created that are going to be using this CNI. Uh, so let's go ahead and 10.244/16. And what is the IP range configured for the services with the cluster? And as I mentioned earlier, the services are going to be set on the API server. So we can go ahead and just do the same thing. Let's describe the API server. And right here is going to be service cluster IP range 10.96, and it's a /12. And next up, how many Q proxies? We can do, let's do get SBC. As you can see, just to double check here, they are within that range, 1096/12. How many Q proxy pods are deployed in this cluster? So for that, we could go back to our get pods A, and here are our Q proxies. And the way, I think that's actually the next question. So I'm gonna wait to mention how these are deployed. Uh, but there's two of them right here. So we're gonna hit two. And okay, so maybe they don't mention it. So the way the Q proxy is deployed is using a daemon set. And this is just to ensure that there's a proxy on every node. As you guys remember, whenever you deploy something as a daemon set, anytime a new node is added to the cluster, it's going to deploy that pod that's defined in the daemon set to each one of those nodes that are added. So if we do a get yes, and in all namespaces, we should see Q proxy here. And same thing with weave is also deployed as a daemon set because you want to have networking set up on all of your nodes, or you won't be
I
able
got
to.
a question.
Yeah,
So, how does it know to ensure that it's running on every pod? What does it use to ensure that it's on every one?
on every node.
Yeah. Well, not on every on every every node.
Um, my understanding, it would use the kubelet to check every node that's added to the. Well, I don't know. Uh, that my assumption would be the somehow through the kubelet because that's the only thing that's gonna be on every node once it's added
Okay.
to the
The
cluster.
Yeah. So what I was asking is because there's some, the I was looking for like the affinity, you know what I'm saying? So when you have the daemon sets are by default going to run on every single node because It has the tolerations for the cube system, the kubelet. I mean the control plane, so it's able to also
Mhm.
run up there. But you do want to make sure that there's an anti-affinity, a node affinity, I believe it's node anti-affinity or something like that. So it knows if there's already one on that system, it's not going to like create two on the same node, if that makes sense.
Mhm. And where would you see that at?
So do a describe. Well, you described it. Number of nodes. So let me see, node selector. So each node needs to have that. Let me see, go down. There's nothing else. Can you do like a try to edit it? It may show up more stuff when you do like an edit.
And I know you're right. I just want to
I want to
know
look at
how
it
I
too.
would
No,
find
no.
it.
Yeah, because I might not be right. Shoot. Let's see. I love to be wrong. That means I'm learning something new. Because I'm trying to see how would it know to say, okay, once this is spun up, it needs to be on this one as well. Is there at least tolerations on there?
What did I see? Wouldn't they be up here in the metadata?
You can scroll down. It's sometimes down. Yeah, tolerations.
There
Okay.
you go.
So it has a toleration for, oh, it just has to exist. So I guess each pod. So I guess each one of the they have that label on here. Guess I gotta look into that more to really see how daemon sets work. Something to research.
Let me
But good stuff.
look real quick what a toleration exist means.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So yeah, so the
Exist.
toleration just says that it has to have that key. So the value or the effect doesn't have to be anything as long as it has
Uh,
um that particular key. So as long as it says example key, it can be like example key, whatever. So as long as it shows, so I guess,
in this case, when it doesn't actually specify a key.
yeah. So I think that's the unique thing about the daemon set, I guess. It's something cool to look up, but I don't want to hold too much time, but it got me thinking when we were looking at that. So but good stuff, good stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
corrected on that for
I just
sure.
want to check one last thing real quick. Get describe pod. Just curious if there's any tolerations on here.
Yeah, they're at the bottom. So it's just using node selector. Okay.
Interesting.
So there you see it. Okay, it says just exists, unreachable, memory network unavailable, not ready. Okay, got it. Let me search that up though.
Okay, we'll look into it after. Did you say you're searching it up now?
Yeah. I'm gonna search it up in the background. You can continue. I'm gonna see if I can
Yep.
get details of it though. Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah, you're good. If you find it, just let us know. And what type of proxy is the Q proxy? Oh, real quick, I wanted to go back. Oh, so the Q proxy and the weave, they're both scheduled as Damon says, just so they are available on on every node. So then all your nodes can communicate with each other. But yeah, back to the question here. What type of proxy is the Q proxy configured to use? To find that, we're gonna let's check the logs. I always thought that it might be in the describe, but of the Q proxy, which we just did actually. Just do describe pod. But I wasn't able to find anything about the what kind of proxy it uses. The way that they tell us to find it is to check the logs of the Q proxy. So K logs, and we're gonna be looking at pods. We're gonna specify the different namespace. Q proxy. And as you can see here, it tells you that it is using the IP table proxy. So let's go ahead and select that. How does the Kubernetes cluster ensure kube-proxy runs on all nodes? Oh, so there was the question about it. So yeah, the way it ensures that is by using daemon sets. Um, daemon sets will just replicate on every single node that comes into the cluster. So daemon sets gonna be it for this lab. So just to go over a bit, we went over the services and they how to find the different IP allocations for all of the for the services, pods, and the nodes themselves. Any questions on this? All right, let's get into the fun stuff. The ingress. So the ingress is a way that Kubernetes uses to route traffic, and it is different than the node ports that it routes traffic from the outside of the cluster, and it is different from the node port that I mentioned earlier in the sense that you are able to do a lot of the load balancing on the application load balancing on the inside of the Kubernetes cluster itself. And also you're able to define the paths that each of your you're able to define the path to each of the services that you have set up inside of Kubernetes. Um, and it does that by using four different things. When it sets up, you have to set up a deployment, and this is going to be your deployment for your controller, which can be we're going to be using Nginx in this examples, but there's many different controls that can be used. Um, you then have to have a config map that then configures that controller. You need to have a service set up, which the service is going to be what is used to connect to the outside world. So you're going to be getting to the deployment through a service. And then you can configure that service to either be node port, as we mentioned earlier, or with Ingress, you can actually configure it to use a cloud load balancer uh, for your entry point. And then you also need to configure a service account that will authenticate and do make those connections happen for you. We haven't really gotten to the service account stuff, the authentication security, but we'll briefly touch on it. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I should also mention that you're then able to have different paths, not just your one. So for example, if we were to have coldcloud.com here, you're able to then have it route you to different services inside of your Kubernetes by changing the actual path here. So if you were to go to coldcloud.com/support, that's all can be done and configured within the Kubernetes to route you to a different page. All right. Which namespace is the Ingress controller deployed in? So let's do okay, get. We're looking for the controller. So let's do a deployment. Because the controller is going to be a deployment. So let's do get deployments and in all namespaces. And here we have it. Ingress Nginx is the namespace. So X. And what is the name of the Ingress controller deployment? And we can see it here. Ingress Nginx controller. Which namespace are the applications deployed in? So here we're gonna try to find the applications that we have. Uh, and they're typically going to be, well, we can see them right now, actually. They're going to be a deployment as well. And as we can see, they're all in the app space namespace. How many applications are deployed? You can see 3. And which namespace is the Ingress resource deployed in? So for the Ingress resource, the Ingress resource is going to be it's going to be the way that you configure your path. So yeah, so the path that I mentioned earlier, the Ingress resource is another configuration or I don't know what we call it. It's a resource. So let me just show you instead. Get ingress and no namespace. So it's gonna be another thing that you configure in Kubernetes, and we can describe it. Let's try this. Dash O yellow. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, it's gonna be another thing you configure, and you then able to configure the slash where. In this case, they have their website that they're gonna be sending us to, which we can click this guy here. This is their website that they have as an example, and then we're able to configure the path here slash where to take us to different section of the web page. If we go to slash where, it takes us to their, let's say this is the clothing store, and then we have a slash watch, which would take us to their video streaming platform. So that's what I mean when I say path is the URL path that is then you can just configure it inside of Kubernetes. Um, any questions on that? I know it kind of might be a little bit confusing. All right. Which namespace is the Ingress resource deployed in? And we can see here it is deployed in the app space as well. And what is the name of the Ingress resource? That is going to be Ingress Where Watch. And what is the host configured in on the Ingress resource? Host defines the domain name that users use to reach the application like google.com. So if we go over, let's do describe. Okay, scribe. Okay, so here it's a little easier to see exactly what the host is. Um, the star means all hosts. Um, pretty much means anything. So as we can see here, the host that is configured is all hosts. And what backend is this slash where path on the Ingress configured with? And we can see all of that right here. It is configured as the where service. Path is the video streaming application made available on the Ingress. And that is on slash watch. The requirement does not match any other configuration path. What service are requested forwarded to? So it's not configured here. So in this case, there will be no service. I'm just curious here, PJ, if you have seen where it is configured. I had assumed that you would have something as a slash star, and then you would configure it to route to a specific, like a page not found page that you wanna have set up.
Well, yeah, you can set it up like that. But you see where it says the rules and that path, there's no you have to be you have to be specific on the path.
Mhm.
You can set up a default, I believe. I don't know how to do it in here exactly, but if it doesn't match that forward slash aware or that forward slash watch, it's immediately going to it's not going to be able to find anything. So it's going to give you that 404 error. If you like I think you did it before already. If you go to the page without it, specifying it, it just gives you a page not found because we haven't it's not associated with any service.
Mhm.
So as you see, yeah, it's just gonna say oops. But I don't know how I guess maybe in the application it does that. But for sure it doesn't go anywhere if it doesn't have any specific location, it's just gonna give you an error.
Oh, I
And the
see here
default
if there's
backend is
a
default.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where is that defined? That's what I was curious about.
Yeah, I'm curious too, now that you say that. But yeah, if it's not specified and doesn't match the wear or watch, it's just gonna go, I guess, into the abyss and say
Okay.
it doesn't exist. Yeah. But yep, no service, just the result. Um,
Okay. No service. Okay. Now if you and we saw this earlier. We see the 404 error page. View the application by pending slash where slash watch. And we did that already. All right, so here we're gonna start doing a little bit of configuration. So they want us to change the path, the URL to be a slash stream instead of slash watch here. So when we do a slash stream, we should be able to get over to that the video page that we saw earlier. So let's go ahead and we can just edit this one. And we'll edit the Ingress resource they already had. And we'll replace the watch with stream. And we should be able to, it should be instant. So I was surprised, but immediately switches over. Because all it is, from my understanding, is a DNS entry change. It's just a change on how Well, not necessarily DNS. Sorry, it's just a routing change. But yeah, we're good to go.
Mhm.
And view video, we just did that, and it was switched over. So next up, users trying to view the slash eat. Which page would you see? Right now it's not configured, so we're gonna get the 404 page. We can test that. There's nothing here. So they're growing. They wanna add the new food delivery company. So pretty much we're gonna be adding a new page for them that is gonna route to slash eat. And let's see that they should have added pod or an application. Okay, get deployment slash all. Yep, so you can see here we have a new deployment called web app food. And we gotta configure it to be able to route to it. So again, we can just, well, first we need to, oh, they actually tell us the ports and everything. But in the case that they didn't tell us, we'd have to check the services. Okay, get SVC. And here is our service, food service. And here's the port. It's gonna be also on port 8080. And just so you guys know how you would match the service to the deployment, okay, describe, describe space SVC service. So the selector here, as you can see, is web app food. We have to match that over to our pod. That might be under the deployment as well, actually. And let's see here. Yep, here it is, web app food. So as long as they match, we know that that service is going to route the traffic over to the pods in this deployment. So we can go ahead and use that service. And as we saw earlier here, it's going to be food dash service on port 8080. So let's go ahead and configure that. For that, we're just going to edit the ingress resource here, and just going to add an extra entry for that. Just yank this. And we're gonna do food. It's in the same port. Everything else is the same. That should be good. So immediately should be able to reach the page. I may have forgot something. Eat back here. Ah, that's what it is. I forgot the path. So I'm gonna route it to slash eat, not slash stream. I am curious what happened to slash stream when I did that. But it might load balance between the two. But yeah, so we change this over to slash e. Edit it again. Let's try it now. There we go. We're able to connect. Check that. All right. Any questions on that?
Sounds good.
Okay. Do the food delivery application using we just did that. All right. So this one gave me a little bit of trouble. Couple things that you wanna catch so don't get s- you don't get cut up on. So let's go ahead. A new payment service has been introduced. Since it is critical, the new application is deployed in its own namespace. We gotta identify the namespace and the application. So let's do okay get deployment dash A, and we can see here web app pay in the critical space namespace. So the namespace is gonna be critical space. And what is the name of the deployment of the new application? Is going to be web app pay. And we got to make it available on slash pay. So the thing that I got caught up on is the namespace. As we can see here in the previous, like we can't just edit this one because these are set by their namespace. And if a namespace is not configured, then it's gonna go to your default namespace. Um, So you'd have to create a brand new ingress resource because of that fact to specify that critical space. So let's go ahead and do that. And to do so, we're gonna do the imperatively create the resource, which I have not done before. So let's see how that goes.
I just did this today. It's very interesting. So yeah, I definitely had to help on there and yeah, so
That's
it works.
perfect.
Yeah.
So okay, create ingress, and we can do dash dash help. See what we can add here. And here are our rules. That's what we need to add. We need to just create it with that rule that paths us to slash pay on port 8282.
And we got to get the service name.
Yes, do not have. Which actually we do have it. Don't. Let's see. J get SVC. J. Here's our pay service. And the way I'm verifying it is just I can see it was created 2 minutes ago.
Mhm.
That's gonna be the service. So let's go ahead and we can follow this usage here. We need an k create ingress and the name of the ingress. We're gonna name it. Don't specify what we need to name it, so let's name it pay and dash dash rule post path, which is gonna be well, that's right equals slash pay. I'm gonna just use a space just because it's easier for me to see. Slash pay and then equals service and then port.
Um, I would say after pay put a star, put an asterisk.
Do you mind elaborating why?
Yeah, when I was doing this earlier today, so if you do it like this, it's I believe it's like it's an exact like endpoint. If you do the slash pay with the asterisk, it's gonna be like a prefix. So anything that's pay and beyond, it will redirect it to the service. So I was having like issues with like answering one of the questions in one of the quick. I guess this is what I don't know if it really matters in the real world, but you may see it up there.
I see it here. Food.com. I guess this just routes everything.
Yeah, but you can remove it and see if it's still it probably is gonna work. But when I was looking at it, there's a difference when you see it's gonna be like exact when it gives you like the description of the ingress. But Yeah, you're right on, right on. But it's something I learned today while literally studying.
Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Definitely will come in handy. We can just keep that because with it or without, it's the same thing.
It should work. Yeah, it should be okay for this scenario.
So pay, and then we need a service and port. So the service was pay service.
Mhm.
Port was 8282, I believe.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
From that, get that out here. Sorry.
82, 82. Oh, it went away. Oh, yes, down there. Oh, wait. Yep.
Here it is. Here it is.
Yep.
All right. 8282. Just to get in the habit of double checking things for the test.
Mhm.
But looks like that is all we need. Let's go ahead and
Wait,
create.
wait. You
I
also
I, I know we
want to,
need the namespace, but I figured we need to add that after.
well, you can do it all at once. Actually go back and delete it, and then we're gonna do two things. We're gonna add the namespace, and we also want to add something else too, which is the annotation as well. So it automatically redirects to the forward slash for us.
Hmm.
Um, so you can, yeah, like you can like delete unless you want to name it something different, you know.
Oh, we're just going to delete it. I see what you mean. I
Mhm.
thought all those things had to be done after.
Yeah, you can do it
We
right through the
can.
imperative command. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. No, you can do delete. I think you just got to move the rule and all that stuff where it says you just need to delete the name. So the dash as rule, everything after that you can delete.
Oh, I see. I see what you
Yeah.
mean. Pay.
Yep. There you go.
All right. So
And then
pay create. I did
then
see.
there's
Oh,
a
so the namespace is just the dash n. I'm assuming
yep. Same process. Yeah.
that's like universal. Okay.
And I think it was yeah, critical space. And then if you scroll up a little bit, there's gonna be in the help section, there's gonna be a dash as annotation equals. And we want to copy that and then
Copy.
you put equals or yeah, annotation. But this one, we probably got to scroll up to where we were looking at the original one. I don't think it you probably have that available. Um, okay,
I
yeah, you
think
do.
I'll.
Right there, annotations where it says rewrite target. We're looking for the rewrite target one.
Okay, right here.
Yeah. And it's not the easiest thing for me to explain, but if you guys want an explanation to what that annotation is actually doing, essentially it's saying that if we were to on like connect to this this website like we're doing now, like Cold Cloud, we would have to put coldcloud.com. We have to put the colon on it, and then we have to put the port that is using forward slash where or pay forward slash pay. When we do the automatic rewrite target, it does that for us in the back end, and all we're doing is just pointing towards, okay, we already know what port and all that you're on. Just tell me what path and we'll take care of the rest essentially. So you don't have to do the port colon because it would technically look like, let me go in the comments and show you all what it would look like. Codecloud.com, and then it'll be port 8282 and then forward slash pay. But we don't have to do that with that annotation here that we do. So if you look in the comments, in the comment what I put in, you'll be able to
Yeah.
see what it looks like there. So it takes away us having to do that. So that's what that annotation is pretty much doing for us.
I think something else I read as well that it also the slash pay or whatever path that you add to the end of that inside of your rules, that it's gonna try to use that path inside of the application as well. And this rule
Mm.
rewrite it to not just use the slash. So it just hits the
Right.
application. And there's a really nice documentation that as soon as we're done with this, that
Hmm.
just shows all of that I can show you guys as well.
Great point. So, but yeah, so the annotations are very important in the ingress, especially this one. You don't, I guess, really have to memorize too much, but that one, as well as the SSL redirect, you can not memorize it, but just be mindful of it if you need to use that. But this should be more than what we need in this example. But good stuff, man.
Create it. Let me see.
Ingress pay. Oh, the forward slash. I think it has to be equal target, rewrite target. No, you're good. Go back to the forward all the way to the end, and then instead of it being the colon, just make it equal the forward slash. Yeah, backspace. Yeah, and then just no backspace again. Like you can remove the code. Yeah, remove
Oh,
that. Yeah, and then equal, and then you can do the forward slash.
okay,
Yeah, that should be good.
okay.
Yeah, and then now if you describe it, we should be able to see how it
Curious if
looks.
there's any explanation here on the syntax. All right, I'll just have to memorize that one.
When you see it, it's like, because remember when we're doing things imperatively, that one is showing us an example of how it would look
Here it is.
after the it was created, which is going to do the colon and then a space and then whatever the value is, right? But on the
Mhm.
command line, it's just all the colons are going to be equal signs instead.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do a describe. Okay, describe ingress.
Um, Namespace. Yep.
Cool. Okay,
Critical. Okay.
did make it in the right namespace.
Yep. He did.
Looks good.
Perfect. That looks great. Oh,
Cool.
it's yep, 8282. Yeah, that looks good. Pay service. Yeah.
Go over to slash pay. All right, perfect.
Let's go.
All right.
I'm curious. Can you do forward slash pay and then like put something after it? Because I want to see if that star actually does anything, or if it's just like pay
Pay.
one or something. Like yeah, just put a.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. All right. So it does catch all. So
barely have anything.
yeah. Okay, that makes sense. May not be the
Doesn't
best.
look it's interesting because it doesn't specify that here.
Do a edit, like do if you were to do a edit the ingress, and then it's probably a show it there where it says like prefix and all that path type. You see, that's what I was looking for. So if you don't put the star the asterisk, it's just gonna say exact, which is fine. It will just give you only
Uh,
slash pay. But in real world, you would more than likely have it only go to that forward slash pay because it doesn't make any sense for it to go
the
anywhere
other
else.
the other one were prefix type as well. So with them, are we able to just add anything to the end as well? Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what that means, the prefix. And so as long as it begins with that, it's going to accept everything, but it has to be exact if you change it to only if you just do that, if
Oh,
you don't if you remove the asterisk. So that's good to know.
so here's something that I just thought of because previously when I was creating this, I was just copying the other one and recreating it. Now, how does it know what load balancer to use? Is that just the ingress attaches this to it?
No, that's what the ingress controller is for. So since you didn't specify the class, the ingress, I'm sorry, it's the ingress class. So if you look in the if you quit it, like if you exit this, let's look at the ingress classes, and if you don't specify the specific class, it's going to go to the default one. So search like do a kget ingress class.
Class? Actually have
It's
not
one,
looked
it's
this up.
one, yeah, just type in ingress and then just tab it. I know it's like ingress dot something or yeah, ingress classes. Okay. All right. So that's the default ingress. So even if you don't specify, I believe, and do a -A just to make sure that there's no other ones. I don't think it should be, but Okay, it's just that one. So that controller, maybe if you like let's dig deep, like dig into it, and I guess let's try to describe it or something. Yeah, let's see. Doesn't really give us much. Okay, I thought it would. But I think that's what it uses. It uses that ingress class or ingress. There's an ingress class and ingress controller. I think it's an ingress controller specifically that does it. Is there an option for ingress controller? Um, you can probably try to get that too. Let me see if I can find. Okay, you see it says from Nginx Ingress Ingress controller. Let's see if we can describe that. I guess Ingress. Is there a
Is it
Ingress
under
class? It's only Ingress class of Ingresses.
wouldn't the Ingress controller be under deployments?
It might be, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see. Like Cube system or something. Or is it in Cube system?
I don't know.
Um, yeah, let's just see. Is there
That's not what we want.
I think
Get
it's in everything, yeah.
deployments dash eight. That's what I want. So it
Ingress. Okay.
is
Yeah, okay. Ingress Nginx. Okay, it's in that one. Yeah.
deployment.
All right. And does it have a
All right.
address range or something?
Controller.
Webhook, leader. Hmm. Scaling secrets. Okay. Were they in different like IP ranges? Like when you did the test before? Were they were they in the same subnet from what it appeared?
What were?
When you say you did the test and you was wondering which load balancer you said you were mentioning it was using. Because all that is going to be coming from this. This is pretty much going to manage all of that backend stuff and the IP address, the actual load balancer goes through that engine, that
Yeah.
ingress Nginx
No, I
thing.
did not notice that it using different IP addresses.
Oh,
I was
okay.
just curious, where is it defined? How do you actually like? Let's do an edit on this. How do you actually tell it to provision the load balancer? Because that's what, like you said, you can provision a load balancer through Kubernetes itself.
Yeah, that's the whole like thing of the the Nginx ingress. It uses Helm, so it pretty much like creates everything that you need to manage it for you. So it kind of like it's out of the box and pretty much what do you call it? It abstracts it away from you. So you just say you create the service and you describe what you need and it pretty much is gonna, set it up for you. But in the real world, I don't really know too much about it. This is one of those tricky things. Ingress is probably the weirdest thing next to like network policies in my opinion.
Those the last two things I got is the security and the networking.
Yeah, yeah. So you're definitely there, bro.
All right,
But
all
that's
right.
as much as I know for that though.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that for later till we get more information. Go ahead, hit next, and we've checked already.
Perfect. This was a good one. I like this session.
Yeah. Now this one is gonna be brand new for all of us. Well, not you, PJ, but I have
Shoot.
full confidence that we
I
won't
think
struggle too
yeah,
much.
yeah, I think it'll be okay.
I forgot to ask any questions on the Ingress stuff that we just went over? That was a lot. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this guy. They deployed to application. Let's explore the setup. Okay, get deployments. A backend base. So our two deployments are going to be the where and video, and we got a default there. Let's now deploy an ingress control. First create namespace. Ingress nginx. Nginx.
Also, I want to say something really quick too. In my exam, it asked me to create a ingress, but they already provided me with a ingress controller, so I just had to do a kgit, ingress, ingress like classes and such, and it was already there, so I just needed to add that class name to my ingress, and I was pretty much good to go. But that was one thing that you would have to know coming in, because it may actually not work and actually route for you properly without you specifying that. So just a quick tip. So um, just look for those.
So we ain't that lucky this one.
I think it might be part of like the next steps, so it may not be created yet.
All right. Let's now deploy. So we've created namespace. And which yeah, the nginx ingress control requires config map objects. Create the config map for it. That namespace. So let's go ahead and create that config map. They don't tell us, yeah, no data needed to be configured in the config map. So we just need to create the config map itself. Config map and the name here. And they want it in the ingress nginx namespace. Okay, describe. Okay, get that's a control. Yep, there it is. Nginx Ingress control requires two service accounts. Create both service accounts with name Ingress Nginx and Ingress Nginx admission. We have not actually went over creating accounts yet, but shouldn't be much different here than create service account. Okay. Oh, do they have namespaces as well? Yep. Vault. Have them in the right namespaces. Still getting an error. Again, close two service accounts. Create both service accounts for the Ingress Nginx. Add.
The service account supposed to have a space?
I did no, because
Okay.
not that part. Discount dash A. Let's just look at the specific namespace. Ingress Engine X. Ingress Engine X and Ingress Engine X admission. I have to remove the other ones. Okay. So yeah, we're seeing the other ones, but we're good now. You created the roles, role binding, cluster role bindings for the server account. Thank God, because we have not gone over there yet, but let's see if we can find those. Okay, get role bindings. Role bindings. Role. Role cluster. Okay, PJ, if you don't mind,
So
would you mind like giving a brief explanation what are roles, role binding, cluster roles? What are those used for on the service accounts?
for sure. So I guess breaking it down first, what is a service account? So service accounts are just like when we're in like, if we're like looking in the cloud or EC2 instance, anything that's like a system or a machine, something that's not like a human, right? So if you need something to do something on our behalf, for example, like a lambda function will, in this case, would be like a service account, right? So with service accounts, those are a user or a what they call them in in uh in I'm sorry, I'm having a brain freeze, but they're a principal. So that's like a thing, right? A person, place, or thing, right? So that is then going to be connected to something with a role. So if you have a system or service or a person, you have no abilities, right? So instead of us giving each person like, okay, I want you to be a manager, so I want you to have these permissions. James, you have these permissions. No, I'm gonna make James be put into a an actual role or grouping. So whenever I change the role or grouping, everybody within that group is going to have that change made because it's gonna, for maintenance purposes, it'll be very easy to modify, a role versus, going and changing each individual person. So in this case, what we have is roles and role binding. So role is you have a permission, so you can get, delete something, list something, or whatever, create anything, right? That's what a role is. You specify that with certain permissions, which are verbs, so you can like, do certain things. And then you have resources, which is going to be like a pod. You can list a pod, you can read a pod, you can create a deployment. So those are what the roles are, what you can do once you're authenticated, right? And then you have role binding. So role bindings, connect a person and a role together. So a service account and a role will create a role binding, right? And then the same thing with cluster roles. Cluster roles are going to be based on the entire cluster. So you won't just have access to a particular namespace, or within a cluster, you have full permission. So for roles, they can be scoped down to a certain namespace. And cluster roles means you have full access to the whole cluster, whatever that permission is, right? Whatever you can read list or whatever do. And then the cluster role binding is the same thing. It just allows a cluster role and a service account or a principal or person to connect them to that role, so they have those permissions when they access to the kube config. So they have permission, so we can regulate what someone can do and what someone can't do. But the main difference is that you want to understand is a cluster role is going to be scoped to the entire cluster, and then a role binding is only going to be associated with a particular namespace. So if you get a question that says this person should only have access to the default namespace, you would do a role binding and or a role and a role binding, because a cluster role will give you permission that will exceed and have access to all the namespaces. So if you say they can get pods, they will be able to get pods in every namespace. So be on the lookout for those questions. Hopefully, that was a long-winded answer, but I wanted to give you like the whole picture of what this is and how it allows people to have certain accesses within the nodes, within the clusters.
Yeah, that's a
It's
fantastic
kind of like
explanation.
RBAC.
And that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Thank you, PJ. That was an
No
amazing
problem.
explanation.
No problem.
All right, so we have those set up for us. So let's go ahead and jump on the next question. Let's now deploy the Ingress controller, create a Kubernetes object using the given file. Oh, they make it easy for us. The deployment and service configuration is given at the several issues with it. Try to fix them. Okay. So let's do well, let's first read that. Vim ingress controller YAML. Okay. Go in the correct namespace. So let's take a look at that. So let's change the namespace here. Gen X, I believe was and we'll, if that's not it, actually it says it right here. So that is it. Um Next up, replicas deployment. So where are the replicas? This should be spec container.
You can always do the recursive search too, with the forward slash, and then you can search too. Like you escape and then forward slash search.
Or I
And
just typed to slash somewhere.
just do escape and then type U for like undo. Until it says like you can't undo it anymore. Yeah. Oh well, you probably you should be good.
Yeah, we're good.
Well,
Search.
when you undo, oh yeah, okay, I was gonna say yeah, it's gonna undo that one too. Well, yeah, you're good.
Okay.
But yeah, searching with this is super helpful.
Replicas not
Do
found.
capital R. I think it's like case sensitive. So it may not even be a replicas in there. Is this a deployment? No replicas? Oh,
I
that
have
might
to
be one
add
of the
them.
issues. Yeah, I think you probably have to add the replicas in there.
Right, image name.
I don't know if it's by there because this is a deployment, so maybe up top.
Let's go ahead. So we'll go ahead and deploy it and see what errors it gives us.
Hmm.
Service name. Let's double check the service.
Well, it's two separate files. Ingress controller. Yep. Nginx.
Node port 30. Okay. Let's go ahead and deploy this and see what errors it gives us.
Mm-hmm. Here,
Mapping values
line
node.
73. Okay. For yep, you know it. There you go.
Do not know it. Yeah, I know it.
Oh
I was gonna Google it, but if you
no,
know it,
yeah, yeah. Colon 73. Just put in a number.
oh,
Yep.
I was thinking of, there's a way to give us all the number, like number it.
You can do yeah, set num, I believe, or something like that. But I always just go right to it. And just go to right little number that it says.
Okay.
So name. So if it that's there, what isn't it like? Container port, go under a little bit because sometimes it may be under. Okay, yeah. Um, ports, name controller, container
Oh,
port.
it's because it's indented.
Oh,
That's what it looks like to
yeah.
me.
Good catch.
So let's do this again. All right, next up,
Ports,
services version v1. Can I handle service? Spec ports, node port.
back ports, no port, spec ports,
Here's
no.
controller. Yeah. Okay, so let's look up node port in there. Spec port, node port. So
Oh,
the
I know it.
issue,
Yep, that's what it is. Yep. You see what the issue is?
I,
The P gotta be capital.
oh really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And that probably should take care of it.
All right,
Oh,
next up, already exists.
I think we're fine because we created, remember there that's a multi like
Oh,
resource
I see.
pod, like yeah, file. So we
So we
might be good.
created it last time, and then
Mhm.
this time,
Exactly.
okay. Right image. Well, let's see what he tells us. Okay,
Yep. Great work.
stuff. Create an Ingress resource to make the application available as /where and /watch on the Ingress service. Also make use of rewrite target annotation. Ingress resource comes under namespace scoped. Don't forget to create the Ingress in the app space namespace.
Got it.
Okay, so curious now. Yeah, dash a. So they are in the app space. Okay. Then we need
Mhm.
to get the services. Let me see. That we should be able to do a declarative,
Yep.
create the resource. Okay,
Mm.
so okay, create ingress. Name of the ingress. Does it tell us? Nope, doesn't matter. So I'm gonna name it ingress. Okay, and next we need our rule,
Mhm.
which is gonna be for our. We gotta create. I'm assuming we gotta create each one for the different path.
Mhm.
So let's do the /where first equals the service. Oh, we gotta do the namespace as well. Let's do that here. Space where service on port 80. So both on port 8080. Gonna copy this. Watch. And annotation.
It's video service.
Oh,
Yeah.
for that. Good
I think I
catch.
remember.
Thank you.
No, I did the same thing, so that's what I remember. Yep, annotation.
Station.
Perfect.
Grab this, and we're gonna change that. Well, let's just do this. And I know if like on the test you won't have access to this, you are able to find this
Mhm.
under the
I'll try
Ingress.
to yeah, ingress or even search up annotation and then probably
It's right here.
perfect. Yeah, it should be right there.
Yep, right there.
Perfect. Yeah. First one, even better.
So, and don't forget when you're doing it this way, we need to do it equals slash. Okay, that looks good to me.
Nice.
And let me just describe it real quick. Space up space. Ingress. Okay, so let's
Perfect.
watch. Perfect, perfect.
Can we
Uh,
try to access those? Can we do like a curl or something? Oh, it actually is
uh,
right there that we can see it.
I don't know if we can do a curl, but I think we can do a curl on the service, right? But not the
You
slash
should also
watch.
you should do it right with this one since it's localhost. Try to like curl localhost forward slash aware because we specified the like all host, I guess. Again, I'm just testing this out because we want to be able to test these things. Because we won't have the option to like check. So so curl localhost forward slash aware and it's not doing it. Hmm, is it 80?
Well, I see the IP address there, so let's do a curl on that IP.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay, so that does come back.
That does come back. Okay. All right. Hello from Flask. So should it be where service?
That's the service IP. So what is
Would
the,
it would it be port 80 maybe? Is that what it's looking for? I don't think it would. Try
the IP of the ingress?
see if it says if it's correct. But I do but these are the ways that you want to be able to make sure what we're doing just for the test purposes because we can do all these things and it can be something like a namespace, something that may be wrong. So that's the best thing is to like the check every question that we get. So the service 8080.
Oh, that might be a little too much.
I think that should be right though.
Trying to find is the ingress. How does it connect? It should connect to a node port. What is the node port then?
um do a wait, is it a node port? I don't think it's a node port. Do the like get service and then all its namespaces. Um the only one is the
Yes,
Nginx
node port.
controller though. Want to try going to that address, the 10 address, and then the port 3080, 300, yeah, 30,080. Nothing. Okay. Huh.
I think that means because it's still pending. Doesn't that mean there is something there?
Well,
It
it
didn't give
timed
us a
out.
refused.
Yeah, it timed out, but
It wouldn't be a slash after that, right?
try yeah, where? No. Try it without the 30,000 and see if it just goes to where.
Oh, there you go.
Mhm. Perfect. Okay, cool.
So that's how we test it. Much.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay.
So the slashes translate the ports
The
for us.
30,000, yeah, the port for us. Yep.
All right. Fantastic. Try to access which we just tested it,
Hmm.
but just for good measures, watch there. Yeah. All right.
Beautiful,
That
beautiful.
was surprisingly easy.
Yeah, not bad. Especially when you do
Perfect.
you do it imperatively. It takes away a lot of um the issues. But again, if you don't feel comfortable doing imperatively, you can still go right to the ingress and the notes in the documentation, and it's very good too. So either way would work. Whatever you feel more comfortable doing on exam day.
For sure. I know something like that I still don't have a full grasp on is deploying the controller itself. They kind of just do it for you in this one. So
Hmm.
I'll probably just go over that. And you said that it's that you don't need to know 100% how to deploy it yourself on the test,
At
right?
least in my version, again, I don't want to set anyone up, but at least the one that I did, it just said create the actual ingress. And I just referenced the class because if you go to the ingress documentation, there's a like a class like name that you like under spec. If you like scroll down a little bit, look for like another example of like an ingress, a kind ingress. Oh, you see who ingress class name? It's
Yeah.
actually right there. I used that and then I just referenced it. So it was like pretty easy right there for me. So
Okay.
I didn't have to do much. But what I was doing was I couldn't remember. I'm like, why can't I get that return? Why can't I return the because it was like you should expect a hello like response.
Hmm.
So I ended up looking at the actual ingress. The ingress had a URL. I don't know why this one does they don't show it, but there's an actual ingress URL. And then I just put that in there, and then I did a forward slash and it found it for me. So I was like, okay, cool. Um, but that was a challenging question that took a little bit of time.
Okay.
But yeah, good work.
All right, good stuff. Yeah. That is the last lab of the networking. I highly recommend going over it again. I am gonna go over it again myself. And yeah, we just went over the ingress and how it works with Kubernetes to route you to the path that you specify, and it does all the port forwarding in the backend to get you to the right services. Um, does anybody else have any questions on this? All right, cool stuff. All right, with that, I'm gonna conclude today's session. That was all of the networking stuff. So next week we'll be jumping right into the security stuff. That'll be our last section before we start doing like the full test. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. So if for the people on YouTube, if you find this stuff valuable, like and subscribe. If you want to join our study group sessions, just message me on LinkedIn. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Right.